Sports Edge. We really have put the band together, back together here.
You were lonely
John,
without me.
Eric, and we're all back again. Hey, listen, this week we want to talk about high school football because there are some talks now that the season, including the playoffs and championship games, went well too deep into December. So there's talks about how can we shorten this up so they can end the season sooner. And in the discussions, nothing has been decided. We want to make that clear. They're going to have a meeting on January 22nd. To throw some ideas out there. But some of the ideas have put into danger the traditional Thanksgiving Day games. So let's just start by talking about that, John.
I love the Thanksgiving Day game.
Do you like how we just called on you first?
Yeah, I guess I'm going to lead it off. No choice here. But I grew up going to the Thanksgiving Day game. Loved going to it every year. And I still enjoy going to it each year. But if that's going to help them condense this playoff, get the season done a little earlier, I'm all for it. And maybe
well, you're all for doing away with the Thanksgiving Day games.
I am, but if they keep the rivalry, say it's Brantford East Haven, maybe you move that up to your first game of the year and you kick off the season with that rivalry game instead. The biggest thing that bothered me all along with this entire thing for high school football is making these kids play during the playoffs 3 games in a 9-day stretch. That's always been my biggest problem with the whole high school
I don't think anyone
scene.
will argue with you on that.
I moved here about 28 years ago from Indiana. And I thought that was so foreign that you guys would have a football game, a big football game on Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is time for the family. You're sitting around, you're eating too much, you're watching TV. But then I got, I had my 3 daughters and we got rolling into high school and other schools, and it became then this tradition. I think now I would really miss that if they did away with it because it's just part of Connecticut to have a game on Thanksgiving Day.
And let's be honest, do you want to be with your relatives all day? I mean, it takes a couple hours away.
Most of them live in Indiana, which is
by the time the game's over, it's 1 o'clock, 12:30, 1 o'clock.
True.
2 o'clock, dinner's on the table, and you move along.
Well,
it's
I'm
5
just saying,
o'clock, you're gone.
When the kids go, that was actually very good. When the kids
Hopefully no one in your family's watching, by the way.
I hope they are.
When the kids come back from college, though, it's tradition they'll have high school class reunions.
Yeah, the Wednesday night.
Right, and so it starts with Wednesday night, and then you've got the traditional football game, and it really is just Connecticut.
I have always thought that the playoff system in Connecticut for high school football was all messed up. And I think they need to do, I think it's crazy the way everything is set up with the high school playoff system, and I think they need to change it. But the best thing about high school football in Connecticut are the Thanksgiving Day games. I, like you, when I moved here, I thought, wow,
From
this
California
is
or
different. I
Texas,
was in
wherever.
Texas, where high school football was very big there. But it's such a wonderful tradition, and I think it's very well in keeping with what Connecticut is all about. And that is you get very involved with your municipality, with your town, and this is a real town thing. On Thanksgiving Day, 10:30, you go to your team's game. It's a communal thing. It's not even so much about the football. It is about getting together with the people in your town.
And it's a moneymaker.
And that's something the CIAC doesn't lose. I do understand the problem with having the season extend too long, right? Because you don't want the kids playing too long, and you don't want them playing more games. Eric, I know that was an issue that's come up here, is that some of these teams are playing 15 games. Yeah. This past year, I think New Canaan played 15 games after playing a conference championship game, and they're worried that the kids are playing too much football, too many games.
Let me ask you this, and we'll start with John, since that's how we started out with. How do you think this is going to go? How do you think they're going to vote, and what's going to happen?
They may get rid of spring practices, bump the season up a little earlier. I know some coaches won't be happy if they get rid of the spring practices because they use those as instructional tools. So you get a lot of teaching done in that time there. I hope, because there's a lot of smart people in the CIAC, the coaching, fraternity as well. I think they'll find a way to keep the Thanksgiving Day games in there. I hope they do. And I don't know what the answer is, though, playoff-wise. I mean, they moved to a quarterfinals a few years ago when they shrunk down the conferences from 6 championships to 4. So they may explore going back to 6 and tightening that up a little bit, but there's still a lot of work to do.
Let me throw this idea out there, is that we've run out of time here on television.
Oh,
so we're
sure, we didn't get to Erik.
But we will over on
What's the web for?
sportsedge.com. Go to sportsedge.com. We're going to continue this conversation. It's a big topic. So sportsedge.com. Here on television, we're going to take a break. We'll be back with more Sports Edge. Okay, now, Erik.
I talked to a coach this week about this whole scenario.
High school coach?
Well-known high school coach. I don't want to say his name because I didn't ask
Sure.
him. But he said there's been talk of playing a playoff game the Saturday before Thanksgiving And then to hold the Thanksgiving tradition, you would then play a regular season game, which makes no sense.
That's
Zero
ridiculous.
sense.
It's
And he said that's been
absolutely
talked
absurd.
about. So you play a playoff game on Saturday before Thanksgiving, and then you play your regularly scheduled Thanksgiving game against your rival, and then go back to the playoffs the following
If
week.
they're going to talk about it, I hope they're watching here, and please take my advice and throw that out the window, because otherwise there's no integrity of the regular
Right.
season.
Well,
the
the
regular
coach-
season determines your playoff games. That's ridiculous.
And the coach said, yeah, I'll do that, no problem, but my JV team will play their heart out, and not one of my varsity guys
But do you
will
think
play.
people are going to come to a JV game on
Well, that's
Thanksgiving?
what he said. They'll come the first year.
And then they won't. Right. Yeah, I don't. This is gonna. So how much teeth is in this? Do you think that they're really going to?
Well, I think they want to do something about it. I have an idea, and look, I don't know all of the
Oh, that's right. We
nuances
get to
and what.
ask you too.
Yeah.
We're on the web now. He can go as long as he wants now.
He knows it too.
No, how about this? Is that you have your traditional rivalry games, okay? And you keep those intact for Thanksgiving. Yet you also start the playoffs on Thanksgiving. And so the only rivalries that get interrupted are the teams involved in the playoffs, and there will be a pairing for the other team by the teams that aren't in the playoffs. You understand what I'm saying? So East Haven, Brantford, one of those teams, Brantford makes the playoffs, East Haven doesn't. East Haven will get paired up with somebody else's rival who that you see,
I can understand.
and now Thanksgiving begins the playoffs and keeps intact 90-something% of your rivalry games.
But yeah, then you lose a little bit of it, so you may
little
not
bit.
get the same amount at the gate. I hope everyone decides to do this for the right reason, which comes down to the kids. I think you look at some of these, they've added
Forget
these
the kids, we're talking money here.
Yeah, well,
Well,
that's it.
that's
The
the
FCI
problem.
championships.
That's the problem.
The FCI championship probably brings in a good amount of money to that league. The playoffs, 3 rounds of it brings in a little bit extra money. So I hope they kind of remember you're talking about young kids here that are going to are really the ones that are making this whole thing
So the
possible.
consensus
Put
is
them-
do the right thing.
Yes.
But I want to go back because we were talking about how many games are being played, and New Canaan, among some other teams, played 15 games. And there's some coaches who say, so not all the teams are playing 15 games, and yet there
The
are
good
schools.
teams are playing 15
Yeah,
games.
and there are schools across the country, schools in Florida, Texas, Pennsylvania, California. I think 18 states that are playing 15 and at times 16
That's
games.
a lot of games.
It's a lot of games, but okay, how bad is that really? I mean, how
Well, it becomes a
destructive is
safety
it?
issue as well.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want kids that age playing that many games and then no break between sports? So if you're a football player, you go right to basketball practice.
Right, there's
to
no
Monday.
downtime in between
No, there's
sports
no,
in high school.
So that is an issue that they're going to have to look out for.
Some
as well.
kids missed some basketball games this year because of that Southington Fairfield prep game that was moved so late. A fantastic game, by the way. Once they got it played, it was probably the best playoff game of the year. But yeah, you got to worry about that too. These guys aren't in basketball shape, and how long is it going to take them to get in basketball shape?
So we'll see what
And,
happens.
and this year was a little crazy with when the
Perfect
storms
storm,
hit.
yeah.
I mean, everything
Late
hit
Thanksgiving.
at the right time to continue to delay these games, and we had some games played in difficult weather. I mean,
Yeah.
we had games played in snowstorms. It was not safe probably driving there for the parents and so on. But anyway, we're going to find out more about this because there'll be discussions at the CIAC and with athletic directors and those on the football committee.
They should
So-
listen to us. Whatever
We'll
our
bring them in.
consensus is.
Whatever
Find
we
out.
say.
Once they
Whatever
decide,
we
we'll
say.
bring them in here.
Yeah, we'll bring them in. We'll talk about them here on SportsEdge.com and on the TV station, on the TV show Sports Edge. All in company. Thanks.